Everyone, my name is Nathan and welcome to HALEoween. Today I want to recommend 8 black and white horror movies to you. These are going to be a mix of movies that are well known, movies that are not well known, and movies that are decently known. I don't know, I love black and white movies, so I knew about all of these. I'll let you be the judge of if you've heard of them or not. Either way, I'm going to recommend 8 movies. I want to say right off the bat, this doesn't mean that there are only 8 great black and white horror movies out there. These are just 8 standouts to me. I will be going in order of release dates, so starting with the earliest one and ending with the latest one. Alright, so the first movie I am talking about today is Freaks, directed by Todd Browning. This came out in 1932 and is probably the most disturbing movie on this entire list. That is interesting too because it's also the earliest movie, so it has a lot to say about Freaks. It's about this woman falling in love with this guy who works with the circus. He has a bunch of friends who are deformed and, I mean, they're circus acts, and so they're a little different from your average person, and they find out that she's only marrying him for his inheritance rather than marrying him for who he is, and they get mad. And let's just say, do not make circus people mad. This movie is horrifying. The final shot of the movie, I don't even like bringing it up because then the image repeats in my mind and I don't want that in my head right now, so I'm going to move on to the next movie. Oddly enough, the next movie is also directed by Todd Browning. It came out in 1936. It is The Devil Doll. This movie stars Lionel Barrymore, and it's about a man who wants to get revenge on his business partners who framed him for making a business accusation that he was innocent of, and so basically he's sent to jail for a long time. He escapes jail and he wants to get revenge on those who accused him. The person that he escapes prison with is this crazy scientist dude who has the ability to turn living people and animals into doll-sized objects. And so it starts off with dogs. He turns his pet dog into a doll-sized dog, really small, and then it turns into turning people into these dolls, hence the title The Devil Doll. So Lionel Barrymore's character hops onto this idea and starts using these dolls to get revenge on his business partners. Not only is this movie considered a horror movie, but it's also just a really weird movie. I mean, Todd Browning, I guess he just had a knack for disturbing, weird content. But I really appreciate the visual effects for this movie, how they're able to have a doll-sized person and have them interact with real-sized people. This was made in the 30s, and so more than anything else, I was just really impressed with this movie. The plot itself is pretty disturbing, and it actually had my heart racing a few times. There were some moments of suspense. It's also interesting seeing Lionel Barrymore playing an old woman for like 80% of the movie. A really weird double feature would be watching this and then It's a Wonderful Life, but I'll let you decide if you want to do that. But as far as underrated black and white horror goes, I would recommend this one. Next up, we're straying away from Todd Browning and moving on to a Universal monster movie. This one is not underrated by any means, but I just want to put a quick plug in for it because it's one of my personal favorite monster movies. It is 1941's The Wolfman. I had a chance to see The Wolfman in theaters last year, and it was such a cool experience seeing that on the big screen. My favorite thing about The Wolfman has always been the fog and how the fog is such a big character. It really sets the tone for these creepy, eerie nights where you know there's a werewolf somewhere out lurking in the woods coming for you. And to add fog into the mix, it just makes any movie scarier. I love fog used in horror movies. I also love The Wolfman because werewolves are my favorite mythical creatures, and so you can imagine my bias to this movie. Plus, Lon Chaney Jr. gives an amazing performance in the title role. It's not an underrated movie. It's very well known, but I just want to put a quick plug in for it. If you're looking for monster movies to watch this season, looking for a good place to get started, then I would recommend The Wolfman. My next movie is 1945's Dead of Night. It was directed by 4 different people: Charles Crichton, Basil Dearden, Robert Hamer, and Alberto Cavalcanti. I apologize if I mispronounced any of those names. But Dead of Night is a horror anthology film with several different segments, but it kind of wraps up neatly and brings everything together for a very chilling finale. The segments themselves are fun. Some of them are spooky, some of them are really goofy. It's a perfect vibe for the Halloween season. But the biggest highlight of this movie is without a doubt the ending. I still have the ending in my mind. I watched this movie for the first time a year ago, and it's still ingrained in my mind because of just how iconic it is and chilling and creepy it is. The next movie is 1955's Diabolique, directed by Henri Georges Clouzot. I try to say that cool. I'm just gonna say H.G. Clouseau. Sorry, not a lick of French in me. I have talked your ear off with this movie. I have a separate video essay devoted to Diabolique, but I had to include it in this list if I'm talking about black and white horror movies that are more underrated and not as well known. If you like Alfred Hitchcock and if you like Psycho, Diabolique is very similar. The plot isn't similar to Psycho, but they have those similarities with the shower, the bathtub, the suspense in both of them, the uncertainty. It's just a really well done movie, and it's spooky too, where you are wondering what is real, what's a lie, what direction the movie is going to go in. It's a really fun time. I'm part of a Discord with some movie friends, and we recently had a movie tournament where we chose 32 iconic horror movies from all periods of time. So the earliest one was Nosferatu, the newest one I think was Get Out, and just a fun fact to put another plug in for Diabolique, that made it to the finale. It only got beat out by The Shining, but it made second place in the tournament by the collective votes that we all gave it. So if you don't believe me, take my Discord friend's word. The next movie is from 1959, directed by William Castle. It is House on Haunted Hill. This movie is such a fun time. If you're looking for the kind of black and white horror film that has the creaking doors, the scary shrieks in the night, the fog, the uncertainty, the haunted house element, I'm telling you, House on Haunted Hill is the movie that you should watch. Does it all make sense? No. But if you just look beyond the things that don't make sense and just enjoy it as this classical black and white horror film, then I think you will really, really like it. There are moments that to me are genuinely creepy. Like sometimes you watch an old black and white scary movie and the genre is horror, but there wasn't one moment where you felt scared or anything. But in House on Haunted Hill, there were moments that are creepy to me. Again, just don't question it too much. It will ruin the movie experience for you. My penultimate movie for this video is 1961's The Innocents, directed by Jack Clayton. If you're a fan of the Criterion Collection and you're an active collector, you've probably heard of this movie. You've maybe have even seen it or own it. Regardless, I hope you can agree with me and my recommendation, including it in the 8 great black and white horror films, because this one is such a great time. It is based on the book The Turn of the Screw, and you might also be familiar with this story if you have seen The Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix, because they both pull from the same books. However, I prefer The Innocents to The Haunting of Bly Manor. But The Innocents just has a lot of spooky things going for it. There are creepy children, there are ghosts. There's one scene in particular where a hide and seek game is going on, and my heart skipped a beat. It was so creepy what happens during that scene. Similar to the House on Haunted Hill, it's a lot of what you want from a black and white horror film. The ghosts, the jump scares, or the just little creepy, eerie moments. However, I would say The Innocents takes itself a lot more seriously than House on Haunted Hill does. House on Haunted Hill is more of a fun, scary time, whereas The Innocents is actually genuinely creepy. When I was looking at what black and white movies I could include for this video, right away I was like, I definitely have to include The Innocents. And finally, I want to shout out 1962's Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, directed by Robert Aldrich. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is very similar to Misery in a sense that someone is trapped inside of a house and they are trying to get out of it alive and they're scared for their life. But Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is a really kind of disturbing tale. Not disturbing like freaks necessarily, but just disturbing in human nature, that someone could actually get to be this crazy. I think that another scary thing that Whatever Happened to Baby Jane has going for it is how realistic it is. It's not a ghost story or paranormal movie or vampires, werewolves, none of that. It's about someone who is stuck living inside of a house with their crazy sister. They also are wheelchair bound, and so they can't just get up and leave. They're very limited on what they can and can't do, and it doesn't help that they live on the second floor too, so it's very hard to get down the flight of stairs. But it makes the final spot on my list of 8 great black and white horror films. Now, like I said in the beginning, I know that there are so many black and white horror films out there that I did not mention, a lot that I've seen that just didn't make the cut this time around. So with that being said, I need you all to help me. Leave your comments in the comment section below with what black and white horror movies you would recommend. I'll let you know if I've seen them. If I haven't seen them, I'll add them to my watch list. And also view the comment section for yourself, get a feel for what other people are recommending. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.